Hello, my friends. I'm back. And we have a lot to talk about. So let's just go ahead and talk about some news. So first of all, I wanted to talk to you about the AI conversation of last week. If you follow the stock market, you may have noticed that the stock market went down a little bit last week, and a lot of people tried to explain it, claiming AI bubble and like all of that. And it is true that the US stock market dominates by what they call magnificent seven, or like big, like concentrated tech companies, and many of them have a lot to do with AI. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is this dilemma that I feel people don't fully understand. Because on one hand side, we say there is AI bubble, and what it probably means is that these AI companies, they're spending a lot of money, they're attracting a lot of investments, and they're not going to be able to make enough money to pay for these investments, to justify these investments, to have enough cash flows, and as a result, they will like go bankrupt, and a lot of people may lose a lot of money. So that would AI bubble means that the AI companies, they are doing a lot, but they are not having a path to profitability and sustainable business models, right? And on the other hand side, everybody is telling us that we are very close to this super intelligence, this potentially evil creation that is going to replace humans or take away some of the jobs or dominate our internet sphere. So it's supposed to be super powerful and potentially malicious and dangerous, and we should be afraid about it. But my point is, it cannot be both, right? So if whoever is developing AI is actually developing a product that is so effective, so prominent that it is able to cause damage and put people out of jobs and all that bad stuff, then probably the product is good and they're going to be able to make money. So the argument about the internet bubble due to AI or stock market bubble due to AI doesn't hold, right? So you cannot have both. It's either or. And to me, because I honestly don't feel, and based on everything that I read, nobody claims that we are super close to this super intelligence situation. So, which makes the argument of people who say that we're having an AI bubble, okay, they may have a point, but at the same time, nobody claims that AI needs to make all this money like in the next 2 weeks. So everybody understood that it's a long game. So I also don't feel like we're having the AI bubble problem because it doesn't look like NVIDIA or like Anthropic or OpenAI or Grok are close to like bankruptcy. Like it doesn't look like that. So, and what it tells me is that both of these cases, both of these arguments are far from like realization. So we're just fine. That's my conclusion. So it is probably like a slow and steady path upwards with some dips, which is normal for a new industry. So we're good. Like that's my interpretation of the stock market dip last week. And a lot of people also say that actually it's very normal for people when it comes close to the year end to sell because they want to materialize and fix some profit or harvest some losses for tax purposes, and it could play a role in this. So that's that. Then we do have an update about the Nexperia situation, which is like crazy, balloons. Um, I read, I think it was Bloomberg, an article online that said actually now the Dutch people realized that they seized this factory, Nexperia, in the Netherlands, and then the parent company or the holding company in China stopped delivering chips to all the partners of this business. And then obviously a lot of German and other car manufacturers and other entities, they had disruptions in their production cycles because they are not receiving chips. And at the same time, we learned that actually Trump in South Korea, he caved to the President Xi and he rolled back a lot of the tariff situation. So the reason why Nexperia was seized apparently now is to prevent it to falling under tariff slash sanctions, because it's now the same thing based on the crazy world we're living now. Well, speaking of legitimacies, right? But it's a longer conversation for another day. So anyway, so because Trump caved to Xi, the seizure, or this, like the control over this factory isn't relevant anymore. And then it seems that the Dutch government is reaching out to China and saying, okay, like, can you please take it back? Can you take the factory back? We don't mind. Like crazy story. But anyway, so hopefully they're going to resolve this situation peacefully, and the factory and the whole production chain is going to resume, because it's good for economies, it's good for businesses. So good luck with that. But my point is that this is a perfect example of why, like, rushed, politically motivated, theatrically, like, prominent decisions don't make sense. They don't last. They don't produce any lasting results. So, but anyway, so I just wanted to tell you that there is this update, like from my last video, that Nexperia seem to be on the path to resuming operations and going back to where they were, and hopefully things will resume. So that's good. And now I really wanted to talk to you about one more thing. I had a coaching call with a participant of the leadership program, and I told them that, and this is one of the main concepts that I teach people, that if you want to add value in compliance, you have to take more risks. You have to try new things. You have to experiment. You have to deploy tools that you haven't tried before. You have to be able to move from the status quo. And then this person told me that, yeah, Jana, I understand it hypothetically. I see why it would make sense in entrepreneurship or in business or elsewhere, but I don't see how it applies to compliance, because I feel like my role and where I add value is to actually avoid risks and to prevent bad things from happening and put in place controls and protect the company and be a guardian of like good risk-free behavior as much as possible. And we had obviously there was a story which I don't want to disclose because like it's private, but I want to kind of anonymize this a little bit and give you my opinion why I still feel if compliance people want to add value, we should take more risks. And here's why. So essentially, this person was saying that their business, their management, their CEO, they are already taking a lot of risks. They are developing the business, they're launching new products. And as a compliance person, it's not their responsibility, it's not their remit to go alone. They need to put brakes. They need to restrict. They need to provide some kind of safeguards against bad things that may happen. So they almost felt like they have to put the brakes when the management like is trying to push gas as much as possible. And it sounds good, but here's the problem. I asked this person, okay, I understand why it may feel noble and appropriate for you to try and like slow down a little bit the development or make the growth less ambitious in comparison to what the senior management want. But here's the thing. The way they did it, the way they went about it, felt like for the management that they don't really care if this business or this initiative is going to succeed. They almost positioned themselves as if here it's your thing, it's your project. My job is to make sure we don't break the law. And what started happening in this specific case is that management, because they felt that their compliance leader, like nobody challenged their competency or their professional skills, but they felt that the compliance leader is not really passionate about this specific initiative and its success. So they stopped inviting them for many meetings where nuances were discussed, because they said, well, anyway, they're going to be against it, why bother? So we're going to brainstorm some ideas, we're going to experiment, we're going to test some marketing campaigns, we're going to test some other initiatives within the parameters that we agreed with compliance, and once and if we need to change something, only then we go to compliance. So this person, the compliance person, was essentially excluded from many, not decisions, but like ongoing iterations with the new initiative, with the new product. And there were many important learnings there. There were many important discoveries. There were certain aspects of customer behavior or certain questions that came from customers that would be useful to understand. And the compliance person was completely excluded. And I have to say that the compliance person was excluded not because management was doing something illegal. It was perfectly legitimate, like business as usual, launch of a new product. Like you need to experiment, you need to ask customers, some tech breaks, you have to recover it, then something doesn't work, the customers tell you, you have to fix it. So there was nothing bad about it. I mean, there was certain things that were not working, but it wasn't malicious, like nobody was losing money. So it was all business as usual. And then for about 3 weeks, compliance person was excluded. And when I asked them, but you knew they launched the product? And the person said, yeah, I knew. And I'm like, but weren't you curious to ask, like, how is it going? What is happening? Like, what's the first feedback? And they're like, well, it's not really my area. If they have questions, they will tell me. Otherwise, I have plenty of other things to do. And this is the problem. So if you believe that growing the business and like participating in this launch initiative isn't really part of your job, and your only job is to put the brakes when it's needed and when people come to you, this is how you will frame your interactions with your management. And in fact, it would limit your scope. It would limit how much you can do, because for the majority of like common cases, people won't even ask you. So what, you won't be involved. You would be excluded, not like deliberately, like, oh, we want to hide something from you, but people would quote unquote exclude you because they think, oh, they cannot contribute, they cannot add value, so why do I even invite them into this meeting? And this is what happened. So it's just one example, one reason why compliance should be open about taking more risks and kind of being a bit more passionate about experimenting and trying new things, because then you are becoming a part of the conversation, brainstorming, feedback loop in relation to many important projects that are going on with your company. And this is just one thing. But then there is like a conceptual bigger picture here, because This is what my business mentor told me, and I repeat it several times, but I feel it's so important. I have to repeat it again. And that is, your business or your function is going to grow to the level of problems you can solve. Meaning that we all our functions, we are in a problem removing business. So we have to solve problems. And obviously, I think everybody agrees that we are solving problems. If we solve bigger problems, we add more value, right? But if you are saying something to the effect, I would like to do this, but I'm not sure if auditors next year will accept it, or it sounds good, but what if some customers complain? For example, it could be that you say, yeah, we can launch this product without all product readiness, but what if something goes wrong and customers will complain, or the system will not be available, or something else because it's not tested, or whatever, right? And you say, no, we should not do it. And yeah, that's my compliance recommendation. So what it means is you're saying, I don't know how I'm going to be able to handle future problems such as auditors next year, or complaining customers, or regulators come and ask questions. And it's true that you may not know how you're going to respond. You probably realize that it's not illegal, but you simply don't know what would be good arguments to defend, like certain strategy or position or setup or whatever, right? So this is where it plays out. I don't know how to solve a bigger problem, meaning how I will respond in 1 year time to the auditors, regulators, customers. Therefore, I will not allow certain things to happen now because I want to be safe, right? So this is what is happening. And I'm not saying that you always should say yes, but if you say yes, it cannot be because I don't know what I will say to auditors next year, because that is an actual professional problem that you should try to solve. And if you know, if you learn how to solve this problem, you will be able to help your business grow today. So this is how it plays out. Very often we say no because there is a conceptual problem that we don't know how to solve now, and therefore we're staying on the safe side. And we think that we are being good guys because we are protecting the company. In fact, I would argue that we are not bad guys, but we are weak guys. We are not moving ahead because we are too afraid to develop research, find the knowledge, see how other people do this, to obtain, to gain, to learn what we need to learn, how to make it happen. And instead, we are saying no. So this is the main reason why I say, if you want to add more value in compliance, you have to learn how to take more risks, which sounds immoral and counterintuitive, but this is my strongest conviction, and I hope you see why I am kind of preaching this message for already like 5-7 years. Anyway, so good to be back with you. And last but not least, just a podcast recommendation. Guys, I am super passionate about history, and I recently discovered a podcast of, I believe he's either Chinese or Singaporean Professor Jiang, and he has a podcast called Predictive History. He teaches history, but he relates it to like modern days, or he relates it to patterns that repeat over history. And he talks about so many things. He talks about ancient history, he talks about recent history, he talks about ancient Greek wars, and he talks about Iran. So he talks about civilization in general. Just really, really great podcast. I mean, I'm not an affiliate. I just love good ideas, good theories. I love intelligent people who offer opinions and insights that, oh my God, I haven't thought about it. So just like an honest recommendation of like a fan of this podcast, which I discovered over the last weekend. I have the link below. Hope if you like history, you will enjoy it. And with that, my friends, have a wonderful week. We have a lot of things going on, and I will be telling you more about like my new project, which I am preparing and going to launch soon, which is on December 1st. We're launching a workshop on how to prepare fintechs for annual compliance reporting, where to focus, how to collect data, how to present things, how to tell things, how to talk about things that you don't have, how to talk about like potential crises that happened or breaches that happened. So wonderful workshop coming up. Stay tuned and have a wonderful week. Bye, guys.